So let's take a look at working with target lights in Cinema 4D. We'd covered all of the other types of lights previously, like the Omni light, the area light, the spotlight, and the infinite light. But we didn't talk about the target light. So let's talk about that now. And notice that it does look an awful lot like the spotlight. And I'll show you why in a second. You'll need something to work with, some sort of scene. If you're in the 3D motion design course, Digital Design, University of Colorado, Denver, you can download this particular scene underneath the video on the blog page for the course. Otherwise, you can build something yourself. So either press pause on your video and either load in that scene or make something that resembles this on your own and press play when you're ready to go. Okay, hopefully we all have a scene to work with. You'll notice I've got some objects on here. I have a sphere that's animated on a path. I have a camera, and I have a forest of these cylinders and a floor object. These can all be seen in here. Cylinders, floor, and then the sphere. So if I were to press play, you'll see the cylinders just sort of running around these trees here. And it'll loop over and over. 120 frame animation. Now let's imagine that we're in a helicopter and we want to see a searchlight shining down on this sphere as the helicopter flies by. Well, one way we might do that is to create a spotlight. I'll go ahead and do that. Create the spotlight and rotate it so that it's shining down on the object. I'm going to move to my editor camera by clicking Cameras, Editor Camera. You can also check this button right here. It goes back and forth. It just keeps you from messing with your camera that you've already got set up. I'm actually going to hide that by double-clicking that little button and making it red. So I can zoom around now and my camera view is not going to be affected by that. So I'm going to go ahead and move this up where I want it to be. Now if I were to try to keyframe this as a fly-through or as a flyby, like a helicopter flyby, I would move it out here, put it to the first point, and rotate my camera manually so that it points towards my object. That's not quite right. I want to continue rotating it over here, keyframe it, and then maybe I'll move to the end. I'll have to figure out how I need to rotate my camera. Manually move it where it needs to go. I mean my light, not my camera. So I'm still it's getting there, it's getting there. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. And now when I go by, I see that it's not bad. It's going off my object a little bit, so maybe I have to go back in the middle, add some more keyframes. And if I really wanted to follow my object, it'd be a lot of keyframing involved. So we don't want to do it that way. We're going to try another way. We're going to use a target light. So I'm going to get rid of that. Go in here, make it under lights, make a target light. Now you'll notice rather than just a light, I get a light and I get a target object. It's actually a null object. A null object is just an object that has doesn't render, it's just a point in space that you can use to group objects underneath as a parent, or you can use its properties to affect other objects. Also notice that my light has this tag on it. So anytime you see something out here in this area, it's called a tag that's applied to this object. If I click on this target tag, you can see that it is targeting my null object light.target.1 as the target for this light. What does that mean? That means that if I were to move this target object, my light's going to follow it no matter where I move it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. It also means if I move my light, it will also always continuously be focused on that object. So in order to make that same animation with this, I would probably come back to the beginning. I might move this light down here, bring it out a little bit, make a keyframe. I'll zoom out and put this at the other side. So just trying to get the paths to be similar, or the points to be similar on either side. So you can see the first point right here. Make a keyframe. Oops. Forgot to move it to the end. So you want to move your object to the other end. Do all this over again. So you want to be at the end of the timeline, right, where you want to make your final keyframe. Get the light just where you want it to be. Keyframe that one. Now, you'll notice as I move my object by in the timeline, as I scrub through the timeline, it's always focused on the center of my screen, or center of my world, where my target object is. If I look at the camera, through the camera view, you can see what we get is this light that passes over head, and it feels very much like something flying by and shining on the object. Here's something nice that you would really have a hard time doing with a standard spotlight. You can actually take the target object, it's a separate object, so you can apply same sort of effects and manipulations to this as you could other objects. So I can actually take this, make it a child of my sphere. So right now, notice now the target object is moving with the sphere because it's a child of that sphere. And if I move that target object to the center of the sphere, it's always going to be following that. So as we fly by, not only is it targeting my object directly, but I've got this flyby with only 2 keyframes. So very, very powerful tool. So here's your example of what you can do with the target light object.